Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to this special series on the North Node in an astrology chart. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah, and this video is on the North Node in the sign of Sagittarius or in the house, the ninth house. The idea for these videos came from friends and fans just like yourself, and I thank you so much for the positive energy you bring and the interactions that we share. If you have an idea of a video you would like to see, some topic in astrology or philosophy as it relates to astrology that you would like to see me talk about, or divination as well, please do feel free to interact with me. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Now, with the North Node in an astrology chart, it has to do with, and I did a video on this, a more expansive video just on the symbolism of the North Node, and I encourage you to watch that. But ultimately, the North Node is about the direction in which the soul is heading. It's about the way in which we help ourselves to move towards greater love and greater wisdom, and ultimately the collective as well. And there's also a strong karmic tie to this because it has to do with the promises we make to ourselves before we incarnate. When the North Node is activated in a chart by transit, it tends to denote a time when karmic blessings, karmic connections come in carrying blessings as well that seek to realign us with the intention of this life, the intention the soul set for this lifetime. Now, when you have the North Node in the ninth house, it is about understanding truth, is really what it comes down to. Understanding truth and understanding the world, the ideas of the world, but also on a practical level. The soul evolves most when it is allowed to consider the new ideas, new people, new languages as well, new cultures as well. And so one really powerful way of accessing the power of the North Node in the ninth house is to travel. But the thing is, because it's the North Node, the nodes represent what's happening on a level of spirit. It's not necessarily some energy that we're very conscious of or we're working with like it is with the planets. And so life is going to kind of put you in situations where you have to travel. Life is going to put you in situations where you have to interact with people who have very different backgrounds than yourself, maybe very different ideas, religious ideas, philosophical ideas about the world, people who perhaps speak different languages. In fact, if you have a North Node in the ninth house, chances are at some point you do have to learn an additional language as well. Given the fact that the North Node, it has been said that the nodes become easier to access, if you will, the older that we get. And some astrologers or some astrological theories that say that really you access the North Node more fully after you have your Saturn return at 28 and a half. There are others who say that you access this energy more fully after you have your Uranus opposition in your early 40s. However, I do think that we can tap into these energies anytime. But with the North Node in the ninth house, chances are at some point in your adult life, you have to learn another language, or you decide to, or undergo a process of really learning a lot about another way of looking at the world, whether it's another religion, or whether it's a whole other philosophical orientation to the world as well. As I said, the chance to travel will be plentiful. Another way that this manifests, because the ninth house does have to do with institutions of higher learning and also the legal and political institutions, where it comes to the idealism of these institutions. All of that is covered by the ninth house. So chances are you'll have to deal with these institutions at various points throughout your life, because wherever the North Node is, life throws us into areas of that house represents. And by being in those particular areas of life that house represents, we meet the people we need, with whom we have karmic contracts, who help us learn some important spiritual lessons about ourselves that help us to, as part of the mystery, move towards greater love and greater wisdom. And so life is going to ask you to have to deal with these different types of organizations, legal, political, and higher learning as well, meaning higher university environments as well. If you have a North Node in the sign of Sagittarius, now ultimately the sign of Sagittarius has to do with Sagittarius energy is generally thought of as being very independent, very restless energy. What I have found with Sagittarian energy is ultimately It is an energy that asks you to have something that you are enthusiastic about and something that you are looking forward to. It's not so much the attainment of a thing, but it's about moving towards something that lights you up, that gives you joy. And life is going to ask you to do just that. Life is going to ask you to take on an adventure with a spirit of adventure when you have Sagittarius as your north node. The qualities of Sagittarius really in its highest, most enlightened sense has to do with understanding that truth, quote unquote, truth is overall relative. That what is spiritually true or philosophically true for one person might not necessarily be for another. Now, wherever the south node is, we tend to manifest the more lower qualities of that sign, but it's also an area of life that we're moving away from. So with a Gemini south node, if you have your north node in Sagittarius, you've got a Gemini south node. And Gemini energy is about expression, it's about communication, but not necessarily thinking so much with Gemini energy about the purpose of those words, of that expression. With Sag, it's all about the purpose. It's all about the higher intention that you are bringing to what it is that you are sharing. It's all about understanding yourself, undertaking a pilgrimage that is for your own personal good, for your own spiritual good, and for a sense of your own happiness as well. Undertaking a pilgrimage that is going to help you to be happier in the world. When you start feeling a sense of restless energy, that might be sort of a not so great planet moving along, moving over your north node, and that's just an invitation to ask you to get honest with yourself about what it is that you really need to be happy and to feel a greater sense of enthusiasm for your life. With a Sagittarius north node, really that is your ticket to trust what is fun for you and trust what lights you up. Because that is where some of your most important lessons or most important spiritual lessons are going to come from. And that is also where you are going to find yourself moving, not only in a direction of greater happiness, but also moving towards greater love and greater wisdom in your own life as part of moving us all as a collective towards greater love and greater wisdom as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you have an idea, as I said, please do reach out. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube comments, and my website, nadiyashah.com. I thank you so much for this moment, and I appreciate your interactions, your positive energy so much, your questions and your ideas so much. Until we connect again, take care. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great month. Be fabulous and enjoy.